And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wheel Talk, the podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and a girl in a wheelchair. How are you today, Brittany?
I'm good. We're a little flustered today because there was a time change with daylight savings time, but we made it. So yeah, I'm good.
Yeah,
How about you?
exactly. Well, yeah, just to double click on that. So I thought I had another hour because the clocks went back for me, and then we were just messaging, and I was like, "Oh, are we on the same time?" Because I just had this little feeling that you might not have been on the same time, and we are on the same time. So yay! Well, we're not
Now
on
we
the
are.
same time, but we are now.
Yeah,
We're here.
yeah.
But I just came back from a bike ride. We went for a bike ride down in Tenange, which is like the next valley over, and it is beautiful. Like we went there a couple of weeks ago, and it was really autumnal, just phenomenally beautiful. And then we went back there today, and it was so muddy. There was like a big storm came through, and there's loads of felled trees and tree roots and all sorts of branches, and it was way more of an adventure. And I went through some big puddles, and I got completely muddy. And I was hoping to like change and maybe shower, but then I was like, no, let's just go for it. Let's like live stream straight away.
You have the advantage of having two wheelchairs because if I get really muddy, I'm in my one wheelchair that I have. So then it's like really annoying. So
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have been able to just hop in my other wheelchair and make the podcast. But yeah, I've considered having an outside wheelchair a few times, but I'm just too lazy to like transfer into it when I leave somewhere. Like, do you even transfer it into your other wheelchair when you go into your car?
What do you mean?
Like, if you leave the house, you have another wheelchair, right? When you go
No,
outside?
no, not a specific outdoor wheelchair. I just have a wheelchair that attaches to my bike. So if I'm like cycling through the woods and getting muddy, then that wheelchair stays outside with the bike. You know?
Oh, but you don't have another wheelchair that you use when you leave the house all the time, just for that
No, no, no,
bike.
no, no. Yeah, just for the bike.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I misunderstood that because I thought anytime you left the house, you used a different wheelchair.
No, no,
Um,
no, no, absolutely not. No, I'm not that fancy. I don't have like
well,
indoor wheelchair.
well, that's what I thought. So I thought maybe you just like transferred into your indoor wheelchair when you got home. But yeah, no, that
No,
that would be a lot.
no. Anyway, today's podcast is called "What Not to Do When You Have a UTI," and we have someone in the comments. What is a UTI? It's a urinary tract infection, very common for people with spinal cord injuries and people that use catheters. You know, intermittent catheters when you slide a big plastic tube up and down your urethra like 8 times a day, then that you have a higher risk of bladder infections. And I had my first one in 4 years, and I'm here to tell you what not to do. And I'm sure Brittany can tell you loads because she's been plagued with them for
Yeah.
ages. So today we're going to spend the first little bit of this podcast talking about that.
Yeah. Well, tell us how you knew. Like, I'm curious how you knew you had the UTI. Like, what were the symptoms?
Yeah.
Um, and then what do you think caused it?
Good question. So basically, I think I've had mild UTIs all throughout the last 4 years because I know what when I got like a little bit of a hurty willy and a little bit of a like more frequent urination, and I can see that it's a bit cloudy in the little pocket, you know, in the pouch. And I'm like, oh, you know, and then my body just goes into clean out mode where I start urinating a lot more frequently, and it goes very, very clear. And I'm like, oh, I think I've just got a robust immune system that just flushes it out naturally, which I'm very, very grateful for. However, this one was different because I hesitated going to the doctors because I thought this is just one of those things where I'm just going to have to drink a lot of water and just flush it out. And it kind of worked. There was one night where the reason I knew it was serious was because I got up to wee 9 times in the night, literally every 45
Oh,
minutes. I was like, oh, I need to wee. And I was weeing very small amounts, you know, and I decided to not reuse catheters because, you know, sometimes, for those of you that don't know, sometimes I reuse them because I sometimes think a little bit of wee is not that much. And, you know, I stick it in there twice and then sort of try to fill it up as sort of like first-hand recycling. But I thought, seeing as I've got an infection, I'll just use a sterile catheter every time. And yeah, after waking up and having like 11 wee bags, and I was like, oh Jesus, you know, this is serious. This is, you know, so I'll go to the doctor. However, I didn't need to use a catheter for another 3 hours, and I was like, oh, maybe my body has cleared it up, you know, and it should be absolutely fine. So I spent the rest of the day thinking that it had cleared up, drinking lots of water, and then spent Friday night actually at poker, not weeing that much. And I thought, hey, it's gone. Brilliant. And then the Saturday night, it came back with a vengeance, and there was like a real burning sensation in my urethra, because I've got like sensitivity but not that much sensitivity. Sometimes after having this sensation, I'm like, oh, maybe I am grateful for the lack of sensation, because like putting this tube up my hurty willy is like really like painful, and it's awful. It's like putting this rough like
Sandpaper almost.
Yeah, just sandpaper up the urethra. It's really, really nasty. So after doing that, I was like, right, I'm going to go to the doctor's. Drove all the way to the doctor's. It was Sunday. It was closed. And they're like, come back tomorrow. And I was like, oh, God. So another night of... but I had no fever, no other symptoms. But lots and lots of frequent urination, like rinsing through catheters. And then went to the doctor. It was a mission. I had to speak French for the whole time, which was great. I didn't actually... one of the benefits was I didn't have to rely on English. I was fully understood, all in French. But it was a mission, I had to go and convince them that I needed antibiotics. Then I had to go drive to the pharmacy, do all that, and then like do a bit of supermarket shopping. And it was raining, and it was snowing as well. It's been snowing here. So I was like, oh, big old mission, feeling a little bit under the weather, going to all these different places, coming home. And after my first antibiotic, unbelievable, the marvels of modern medicine, couldn't believe it. Within a few hours, it had already cleared up. I've only had two. My third one is due in about an hour. 2 pills, and it is cleared up almost immediately. And I just feel like they are such a remarkable medicine. But yeah, that's how it went down. That's how I knew that I had a UTI. And yeah, have you got any other questions?
Are you incontinent when you have a UTI? Like,
so because I can feel, I get this little feeling. I've been, using incontinence products like little pads, or like they're actually just child's nappies just stuffed down my pants. But yeah, I get like little bladder spasms, so I'm not like fully incontinent because I can feel when I need to go, but I'm like, oh my God, like that feeling of like, oh, I need to go immediately. I really, really, really need to go. And then I was holding like a bottle in front of it, and I was like, okay, then, well, if you really need to go that much, then go. And it wouldn't go, and it's like this really weird feeling of needing to go for a wee, but then not urinating. But then as soon as you sort of like give up, and you're like, oh, and then it wheezes, and you're like, oh my God. Yeah, it was a bit of a game of cat and mouse with the wee, trying to catch it, and then wondering whether I should like urinate into the bottle, because if I'm leaving the urine in the bladder, like, is the bacteria multiplying? Anyway, all these sorts of weird and wonderful questions of having a UTI.
Yeah, if I have a UTI, I'm 100% incontinent every 5 minutes. So it is brutal. I can't hold any urine, and my bladder spasms like uncontrollably. It's so annoying. So that's how I always know I have a UTI, because my urine gets cloudy sometimes for just like odd reasons, and it's not smelly or anything like that. So it must be something I eat. So it's really hard for me to like know whether that is a symptom of a UTI. But incontinence is almost always a symptom of a UTI. And if I don't hold enough, so if I'm only holding like 100 milliliters and I'm incontinent, then it's generally a sign of a UTI. But if I'm incontinent and I'm still holding like 400 milliliters, then it's probably something else, because I get parts of the month during my like cycle, my menstrual cycle, I get incontinence, and it's right around like, I can't even like think that like the 20th day or something in my cycle, I get incontinence. I don't know what it is or what it's caused from, but it was like hormone fluctuation or something like that.
Every month?
Pretty much like clockwork. I'll get incontinent for like 2 days, like in like the nearing the end of my cycle.
Wow.
So it's very weird. So I can't really figure out what it is. It must be hormonal of some kind in terms of like the muscles, because I know that estrogen is really important for how your muscles function in your genital area and in your sex organs, especially for women, like lubrication, just like the overall like stretching and contracting and stuff of your bladder, smooth muscles, essentially smooth muscles, it's really responsible for. So I think that there's just some fluctuation in estrogen, or maybe like the too high progesterone or something. I don't know. I have to do more research on it, but so yeah, but incontinence, constant incontinence, and like every 5 minutes, like when I get a UTI, I can't wear pants. Like it's just
Oh,
brutal.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hate it.
So that didn't happen to me. I'm unfortunately I didn't wee myself, but I kind of did. But I had like the incontinence products, so it was like little squirts here and there. But it was quite unpleasant. But I didn't get any fever, like no other symptoms. So it was I guess fairly mild, but it just would not go away. And then marvelous antibiotics just made it go away. So it was one called Cipro fluoxetine or something. Are you familiar with the one?
I am, yeah. Be careful with that one. Not that like it's a bad antibiotic and it's very common, but it can have a reaction with your muscles that's like debilitating. So if you start to have like forearm pain or anything like that, stop taking it like immediately, because it can seriously damage tendons and stuff, like irreversibly. People have been paralyzed and stuff from it. So just watch it. But I've been on it many times and it's never done anything to me. But I've had a few friends that have like had irreparable damage to their tendons and stuff when they were on it. So that's just something to watch for. Yeah, but there's always like, there's a trade-off, right? You gotta, you need to take the antibiotics sometimes.
So I was asking ChatGPT about the side effects, and it was saying that the tenderness is between 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 100,000 people. So I was like, oh, that's like very, very rare. So that I think but it said chances of diarrhea would be like 1 in 10, and I was like, oh, that's still a 90% chance of not having diarrhea, but still, it's really I don't want diarrhea. It's diarrhea in a wheelchair sucks.
I think that's a symptom with any antibiotic, though. Like every antibiotic has the potential to cause C. diff, which is like an increase in this bad bacteria that can cause super bad diarrhea. So I think it's just any bacteria or any antibiotic. So it wouldn't matter whether you were taking a different one, you would still have that 90% chance of not having diarrhea or 10% chance of getting diarrhea. But ultimately, I think like you not being on antibiotics often, A, increases the chance that they're going to work, and B, increases or decreases the likelihood that you're going to have a negative reaction, because it's not something that your body is trying to like defend against all the time. And I think reactions generally happen when you use things excessively. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about was, again, what not to do when you have a UTI is if someone has an infection, like say if Chris had an infection, or there's been times where before when I was with Lou and she had an infection, and I would say, go to the doctors, get some antibiotics. It's not going to clear up on its own. You know, don't be scared of modern medicine. It's wonderful. But sometimes when it happens to you, and this is someone coming from someone who is definitely not skeptical of modern medicine one bit. I love it. I'm like, well, do I really need antibiotics? You know, I do have a robust immune system. I don't want it to kill off all the healthy bacteria in my gut, you know. And then I was asking ChatGPT all these questions about what are the pros and cons of antibiotics, and yet for some reason, I don't know if I heard on a podcast recently, you are much more likely to get your pet to finish their course of antibiotics than for you to finish your own course of antibiotics. And I don't know where this hesitation came from. I just thought, you know what, it'll be fine. I'll wait. I'm sure it'll clear up on its own. There's no need to take antibiotics if I don't need them, which I think is fairly healthy. But at the same time, I don't know where this hesitation came from, because if it was someone else, I'd be like, go to the doctors, you fool.
Yeah. I think that there's a balance that has to be struck there, because I was in a cycle of chronic antibiotic use when I was like first paralyzed, because I would use them and then they become less effective. So then you have to use either a different one or more of them, and it can cause a really vicious cycle. So if you are in the habit of using antibiotics really really frequently, and like, oh, I need to use the antibiotic right now, then I think that it doesn't give your body a chance to actually clear up on its own, because there are times that, like you said, you've had UTIs that have cleared up on their own, and some of the time they do. But once you notice that it's not clearing up on its own, then there should be no hesitation about whether you go to the doctor or not. And for me, if I know that it's going to clear up on its own with natural stuff, like I eat a crap ton of garlic, I use other natural things. If it's gone in the first day, generally, and if I keep doing the things, it's good. If it's not responding in the first day, generally it's not going to go away. And if it comes back after it goes away, like yours did, then you should probably go, because that means that whatever bacteria you thought you had sort of killed, the stronger ones survived and they're now proliferating, and you need something stronger than natural stuff. So I think you were smart. Like, as soon as you were like, oh, this came back, go to the doctor. But there's lots of different like schools of thought out there. A lot of people say take the antibiotic right away, because the longer you have the infection, the more damage to the tissues, and the more damage to the tissues, the more likely it is to get a recurrent UTI. So there's like a bunch of different schools of thought, and everybody has to like do what they feel comfortable with. Obviously, sepsis is another thing that you could get if you let the UTI go longer than a couple days. So yeah, I think modern medicine is amazing, and I think we need prevention is the best thing, so that you don't have to worry about whether you're going to the doctor or getting antibiotics all the time, right?
Yeah. So you had another question, which was how do I think that I got it? And that is a really good question, because because if you have a run of 4 years without I've just noticed it's raining outside. Amazing. That was such good timing. Like, we just went from a big bike ride and got home before the rain. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to derail the conversation, but that was great timing. Anyway, so because I'm quite careless, because if you go for 4 years without getting a UTI and you reuse catheters and you're like, oh, I'm bloody bulletproof, me, I'm fine. You do become careless. And I don't know what it was, but I know that I think it's like 80% of UTIs are caused from E. coli bacteria that live in your gut. So I thought that maybe it's when I do my bowel routine and I have to bring my pooey glove through the hole, because I go down. I know that you go from behind, right?
I used to go from the front.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to test going from behind. And I just sit further forward on the toilet and I lean forward to get my hand in there. And it seems to work fine for me. So I haven't gone back to the forward.
For me, I've been going down, I don't know, you just get used to it. So I go down the hole, but then as I bring my hand back up, obviously I've got to go through the gap of, like, my legs, the toilet seat, and my balls and my willy and stuff. So you've got to try and get, so I think that maybe like I scraped like a pooey glove on the toilet seat perhaps, or I don't know, who knows? I think maybe that was it. And that's how I got it. But
that's why.
Yeah.
I always wash my glove in the toilet water before I pull it out.
That
sounds gross, but I flush the toilet and I literally wash my glove. Like, I wash it, I flush it, I wash it, and then I pull it off. So like when my glove comes out, it's clean. Like, it doesn't have any poop on it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's more important when I was going forward, because my stuff is this, like, my urethra is this far from my butthole. Yours is exactly, very far from your butthole. So I have to be a lot more careful. And then after I do bowel routine, I have this whole thing. Like, I clean up, I soap, I clean. And then when I cath, I take like wipes that are extremely wet and I like flush my urethra area with water so that it flushes bacteria back towards my butthole. So I have a whole like system of hygiene that I hope prevents UTIs and seems to do pretty well. I do that after sex too. So I have like a whole system, but it was probably something about the, it's E. coli. There's millions of bacteria in like one little tiny thing. So even if you try your best, like, they're just little migrating buggers, and they do in places you don't want them to get.
They do. So one other thing I wanted to talk about was ChatGPT and just how amazing it is for information. It really is. So I said, if like 80 or 90% of UTIs are caused by E. coli, why does the doctor have to take a urine culture test? If it's just E. coli, and then ChatGPT was like, oh, because there's loads of different types of E. coli. And I was like, oh, no way. And I was just asking so many questions. And I was like, mate, I am getting so schooled up here on UTI and antibiotics. And there was a great question here from Go Yo-Yo. It is amazing one dose of antibiotic can work for a UTI, but recommend finishing the prescribed dose. And I was like, I thought the exact same thing. I asked ChatGPT, So why do we have to finish the whole, why would, because the doctor suggested that I might have to take antibiotics for 14 days, and I thought that's a bit much. But he said it depends on the test results. You might have to. So I asked ChatGPT, and it said, well, because the first dose of antibiotics kills off all the weak bacteria, but some of the bacteria that are resistant to the antibiotics, if you don't finish the course, they get even more resistant and they can come back and they can be really stronger. So that's why it's really important that you finish the dose of antibiotics. And because I trust ChatGPT so much, I was like, oh, thank you, mighty one, Whereas if someone else had told me, I'd be like, yeah, I don't believe you.
Yeah, that's really funny. Well, it is a giant search engine, so it's pulling from sources on the internet. It's not just pulling shit out of its like AI head, but that is the reason. It's just the same reason that like when I said if you try natural stuff and it goes away the first day, but then it comes back, that means that the natural stuff killed the weak guys and the strong guys are still alive. And they're now multiplying and being like, haha, you thought you killed me, but I'm actually going to try and kill you. So yeah, you have to finish the antibiotics, which is like, I never forget to finish antibiotics whenever I have to take them. But it's, there's lots of other bacteria that cause UTIs too. Like Klebsiella is a common one. So E. coli isn't the only bacteria that causes UTIs. It's just the most common. But there's lots and lots of other ones that cause UTI. But yeah, E. coli is the one that D. mannose works on, which is awesome that it's the most common, because if you get a UTI and you start, especially, it's better for women than it is for men, but men, it works too. If you take D. mannose, like 2,000 milligrams every hour, the E. coli that are multiplying in your bladder, they're attaching to the D. mannose and getting flushed out at a faster rate than if you weren't taking D. mannose. So if you do have an E. coli infection, it's always good to just start dosing D. mannose like your life depended on it. There were so many good questions in here, and like people talking about things. I just wanted to address a few of them. Sepsis is no joke. On December 21st, I went septic from a UTI. I'm always curious about like sepsis and how either you knew you had sepsis or how long you had the UTI, because I'm always curious about sepsis. So if you want to like share some of that in the comments, that would be amazing. Talk a little bit more about how you knew you had it. Here's a comment here about having the C. diff. I had C. diff once. You do not want it every time I ate something at all. It came straight through me and came out. Plus you get dehydrated bad. It's really bad. I've had a couple of friends that have had it, and it's really hard to come back from too, because you have to have the good bacteria that repopulate it. I thought I saw something else on here too.
Interesting. I'm going to highlight one real quick. This one says, what about cranberry juice? It has so much sugar in it. What about cranberry pills? What do you think about cranberry pills? So, interestingly enough, ChatGPT said cranberry juice and D. mannose are mostly anecdotal things that they don't like work that effectively. But who knows? But yeah, so could be one of those things that everyone says, oh, cranberry juice, but I'm not sure it actually works.
I think cranberry juice is mostly anecdotal, but I believe that D. mannose is not anecdotal. I think that there's just not that much research, like robust research, because it's kind of new. But I definitely know that the D. mannose, the idea behind D. mannose has absolutely been studied a lot. But whether it's been studied in humans and not just in a petri dish, I have no idea. So it might still be anecdotal in the evidence world.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. But I do know that cranberry juice works really well for some people and not others. And cranberry juice, funnily enough, just has the same property in it that D. mannose is, I think. At least I think. Don't quote me on that. But I believe when I was reading about it, it just has the same thing. But D. mannose can acidify your urine, and some people's bladders do not like being acidified. And it can actually kind of irritate the tissue. So, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then don't take it.
There you go. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people with spinal cord injuries swear by it. I used to take it, but then, like I say, when you haven't had a UTI in so long, I was like, I think it's just wasting my money. But
yeah. Speaking of like when you were talking about getting complacent kind of thing. So my friend Ricardo had a lot of UTIs when he was first paralyzed, and it caused a lot of anxiety. Like it's horrible when you get them, and he gets very sick. Like he gets a bad fever. Almost every time ended up in the emergency room having to get like IV antibiotics. Like he gets bad symptoms from his UTIs. And he didn't have one for 2 years. And so he was like, I'm out of the water. Like I'm out of the water. Like this is awesome. And then he got one, and then he's had a string of them that they just keep coming back. So I feel like that's one of the things that I'm pretty good at, is not getting like complacent. Because every time I do, you get confident, and then your body's like, yeah, I'm gonna go down now.
Yeah, that is. Oh, I hope not, because I really like that. I feel like I'm quite robust. You know, the immune system is I like that. But and also, like I say, reusing catheters. I know that they tell you not to do it, but like when you only use them once and you have a UTI, you just rinse through them so quickly. And I thought, wow, you know, like my girlfriend took a picture. Sorry, fiance took a picture of me holding, you know, my 11 wee bags that I did overnight, and I thought, wow, that's just so many, you know. And also there's so little wee in them. You just squirt out the little bits of wee, and it seems like such a waste.
I know it's expensive to have a UTI. That's why whenever I get a UTI, I pretty much always just sit on like an incontinence product, like a blue pad or something, and just pee myself, because I'm not incontinent unless I have a UTI. And when I have a UTI, I'll just be incontinent all the time. So I will, like, my bladder will flex, and I have bladder sensation, so I can feel when I have to pee. But I'm like, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to waste a catheter. I'm just going to pee my pants in 2 seconds anyway. So at first I'll go every like half an hour. And if it's every half an hour, then I'll use a catheter every half an hour. But you like just fly through them. I fly through them enough as it is. I think I use 10 catheters a day, just not having UTI. And if I have a UTI, it's like insane. So then it just gets so expensive.
Well, I don't have to pay for mine. I find it bizarre that you have to pay for yours, but it's a part of the beautiful thing about living in France and getting free health care stuff.
I just want to highlight this comment. Ryan says, I very seldom take a sample in, but I do have a standing prescription of Cipro, an antibiotic that I will take in if I have any of the symptoms of the infection. I am going to have to say that, like, your doctor obviously will like work with you on that, but not taking a sample, I think can sometimes be dangerous, just because then you don't know if you are treating a bacteria with a appropriate antibiotic. And sometimes if you treat it with something that it's not super not super sensitive to, then it can become resistant. But if you are I'm sure you've worked with your doctor before, it's been the same bacteria, that it's normally been. And even my doctor, like if I go on holidays or something, I'll take antibiotics. And if I can't take a sample, I'll just take the antibiotics if I'm not anywhere that I can, effectively take a sample. So we all do it sometimes, but I still think you should take a sample. Start taking the antibiotics and take a sample, and then start taking the antibiotics.
Yeah, one of the things I was really grateful for was when I went away, I took, I think, 110 catheters with me. I went on holiday for 2 weeks, and I came back with 40, and I was like, wow, that's quite a lot. Yeah, but it's nice. It's nice to come back with, because I was finding them everywhere. It's like, oh, I've come back with 10. Oh no, I've come back with 20, and then oh no, there's another 10 in here, like little pockets where you've like stuffed them because you just want you want to have enough, right? And I think I counted for 8 per day, and I because obviously I reused them and stuff. I had a surplus. But if I had a UTI while I was away, oh man, I would have rinsed through them. And also, it's just really unpleasant. So I was so grateful to have a UTI at home. It's the best place. It's the best place to have diarrhea. It's the best place to shit yourself. It's the best place for it. I love home. Since being back from holiday, I have just been loving home, especially since the clocks went back. It's been getting dark. We had a really bad storm, like loads of rain and snow and trees falling over. And we've just been like cozy, eating food and like, watching Netflix, and it's been absolutely brilliant. I've just been absolutely loving being home. It's just the best place, to be. I love it.
I couldn't agree more. It's so nice being in your own comfort zone. Where you have all of your catheters and your supplies and whatever shower chair that you normally use in your bed and all that stuff. Like when you go somewhere, it's just awkward to like you're transferring and trying to figure out when you pee at night, where's all your stuff. And it's just so much nicer being at home and having your own like routine and all the things that you are comfortable with. It's just a question here that not UTIs, but what level of injury do you have, Britt? It's a T6. I'm like chest level, armpit. Basically like nipple line is my injury level. So I have full use of my arms, but very little core. What level of injury are you, Fred?
T12.
T12. I thought so. Yeah.
So, on the subject of chatbots, even I was going to say this earlier when we're actually talking about ChatGPT, but now I'm just shoehorning it in. But on the subject of ChatGPT, I used it for this amazing conversation this morning. I asked it. So Chris suggested this to me. Let me scroll up to the top real quick. I said, in 10 questions, what could you ask me about myself that even I don't know? Ask me the questions one at a time without telling me the reasons for the questions. And after all these 10 questions, it came up with some amazing things. And then I said, right, don't sugarcoat it. Like it feels like you're giving me like this warm reading. Give it to me in a way. Give it to me straight. Highlight any blind spots or any growth edges. And it was really intuitive. Some of the things that it came up with were really good. I would highly recommend it. I'm a huge fan of ChatGPT. People in the comments are laughing at me. Really? I know, but I love it. One of the ones that was really good. This made me quite emotional when I read it. You carry quiet guilt about privilege and paralysis. This one's more subconscious, but it's visible between the lines. You push yourself to be useful, inspiring, and productive, partly to balance out an internalized guilt about what you can't control, your disability. You hold yourself to high standards because you don't want pity. That drive is admirable, but exhausting. You don't have to earn your right to exist in full color. You already do. Stop measuring your worth against an invisible scoreboard. I was like, oh my God, man, that was like so powerful. I was like, wow, that I resonate with that so much. I just wanted to share that with you.
I think that is, it's, I don't know, like I'm like, there's like a hierarchy of disability or whatever. And I think that people who like us have a full function of our upper body, or at least our arms, we feel like we have like a duty or something, or at least I do. I feel like I have a duty to not waste the potential that I have because I have my arms. And so, yeah, I totally get how that can be a thing for us, at least subconsciously. Yeah, I'm more of a person that like feels guilty. I don't think that I actually do that much great stuff. Like I feel like talking to so many people that have these like amazing like positions, like jobs and stuff like that. Like a friend of mine, she's in a wheelchair, and I actually like I not gave her, but I was in like a research position. I was like, I don't have time for this. So I was like, this is my friend. She used to be a nurse. She's going to be great at it. And so then I checked in with her, like how that's going. And she's like now going back to school to get a PhD because she's in this research position and she used to be a nurse. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm such a loser. I'm like sitting over here just being like, yeah, I make videos on the internet sometimes. And she's like, got this research thing. And then because of that, a year later, she's like, now she has a full-time job with Praxis, which is like a spinal cord injury research institution that was started by Rick Hansen, who is like a major disability advocate in Canada, wheeled across Canada. So she works for his company now. And now she's going to get her PhD. I'm like, what do I do? Like, that's what she did in a year and a half. I'm like, I'm pathetic. So every once in a while I see people like that I'm like, I have serious growth. That needs to happen. But yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying in terms of like just trying to strive to be something because you have to make up for your disability.
Comparison is the thief of joy, Britt. You shouldn't compare yourself to others.
I know.
But yeah, that one really resonated with me. There were some others as well, but that one was really powerful, and it just made me, yeah.
So do you think as a man with a disability, you overcompensate in physical things that you can do on your own because there's certain things that you can't do. Like, do you know what I'm asking? Like, if you like bumping yourself up or bumping down the stairs, like when you were with Lou, why am I saying Lou? Chris's parents.
Yeah.
When you were visiting them and you were bumping downstairs and you fell, or like if you're transferring or doing whatever physical, do you think that you overcompensate in the things that you can control?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
So like the things that you can do physically,
Yeah.
like in your wheelchair, even like lifting yourself on and off the ground, or
Yeah.
biking, or whatever it is that you can physically do. Do you think that you overcompensate and don't want help in those areas because you do need help in other areas?
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I am very stubbornly independent, and that shows up in so many ways. Like when I was at the retreat, I would struggle. People would say, "Oh, do you need a hand getting in your wheelchair?" I'm like, "No, no, no, it's fine." And they would watch me struggle to get in my wheelchair because my floor transfers aren't flawless. They aren't smooth. But I would much rather struggle and make a really awkward scene where I take, 3 minutes to get in my chair and my legs go spazzy, rather than have people lift me in my chair, because that takes away my autonomy. And well, it could quite easily be a choice. Yeah, absolutely, that would be really handy. I can do it myself, but if you help me, whoop, I'm in 10 seconds. But there is something that, I mean, we've said this. I hate it when people open doors for me. I'm like, I'm not an old man. I can push the door, but now you're in the way. You're awkwardly holding the door open for me. I'm not. Yeah, I think, like I've said this before, if you offer help, then that makes me feel helpless. It's like you're saying, "Oh, you must be helpless. Let me get that for you."
Yeah.
When actually people are just being very kind. So it's something I struggle with. It's something I struggle with.
I almost never think in that situation, especially with door holding and stuff, that people are thinking that I'm incapable of holding a door, just because that's a common thing that people do for other people in general. In other situations, I might feel like people are seeing me as incompetent or incapable of doing something, and therefore they're helping me. But sometimes it's just like a safety issue. Some people just watch carefully to see if I'm in the wintertime, if I can get across a parking lot where there's cars coming and stuff, just to make sure I can get across. So sometimes it's a safety issue. Sometimes it's just more like a chivalry thing. But sometimes it is awkward when people are trying to help you when you don't. Like, I'm like walking or wheeling to the door, and there's somebody walking to the door, and I know that our timing's not going to be totally on par. And I'm like, I'm going to go to this door, but I'm not really sure what door they're going to go to, but I can tell that they're like, I want to open the door for this person, but it's just so much easier if I just pick the door I'm going to go to and open it. And some people are very good about it. Like they'll be walking and be like, hey, can I get the door for you? And I'll be like, I got it. I'm good. And it's so much easier that way, because then they just go in their door over there and I go in my door over here. But other people are like, they're running up. It's just an awkward, I'm like, ooh, it's bad timing or something.
Yeah.
So there are certain times like that I'm like, the holding the door thing is weird. And if they hold the door and they you have to wheel under it, I'm like, who does that? I'm like, don't make me do like limbo or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't do that. So the door thing is weird.
And I know I've said this before, but it's worth saying again that not every wheelchair person is the same. So some people in wheelchairs that maybe, have push handles that don't look like my wheelchair, I'm not judging at all, but maybe they do want their door open for them. Yeah. And if you didn't open the door, they'd think, oh, that was bloody rude. Obviously, can you not see that I'm going to struggle to open this door?
Yeah.
But not all wheelchairs are the same, like there are active wheelchairs. There's like fit young men in wheelchairs, and then there's old people who struggle or like being pushed in a wheelchair who need so it's just it's hard for the people opening the doors, whether to make that distinction, because they don't know the whole scale of disability. So it's interesting.
That's why I think teaching disability etiquette is largely ineffective, because everybody's different. You can't teach a standard protocol or practice to interact with everybody with a disability. I mean, it's just hard to do because not everybody's going to feel the same thing about certain actions towards them, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting stuff. But I like ChatGPT for sure, and I use it quite a bit when I'm trying to dissect information or analyze information or find something that I know is going to have multiple sources on the internet, because I know it's just going to bring together all of the things in one answer. But I don't use it like philosophically very often, just
I
because
love it.
I'm like, yeah, I just never think to do that. I'm not a journaler though, so I don't sit and like, I think to myself a lot in my head, and I think about like my emotions and all that stuff, but I overthink absolutely everything. So maybe it would help me with that, because I'm
Yeah.
constantly ask my kids if there's like a decision I have to make about their parenting. I will overthink it and I will explain to them for an hour about how I've come to that decision, instead of just being like, here's my decision. And I don't really have to explain to my 17-year-old why that's my decision, but I try,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I want you to understand that it's not me being mean or what. And then it's just like, and then in the end, they're like, can you stop talking? Because we've talked about this for an hour and it's a lot. So maybe ChatGPT would be the thing to go to for that for me, instead of bombarding other people with my thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. So, when I was talking about the 10 questions, the first question was, when was the last time you surprised yourself? And what exactly did you do that caught you off guard? So I thought that was a really interesting one. And interestingly enough, when Chris did it, all the questions were different. So it's not like this set of questions that it just rolls out. That these seemed quite personalized. And then it was giving me feedback on the questions before the next question. So it says, when you think about the version of yourself 10 years from now, what's one part of your current identity that you suspect won't survive, but you're not sure if that's a good or bad thing yet?
That's a good one.
Very,
I want to hear your answer to that one.
very introspective. Well, it was like kind of like a voice note. It was like a bit of a waffle.
Oh,
I think it was like, 10 years from now, I'd like to think of myself as a father, and part of me that's going to change is just the general things that change about oneself when they become a parent. Kind of like those unteachable lessons, the things that all the parents teach you or say, when you become a parent, you think about the world in a different way. And they could sound predictable and almost trite, but I'm looking forward to experiencing those lessons and seeing life through a different lens. So, yeah.
oh, that's awesome. I'm just curious, like, because the part of the question where it said, what part of your personality do you think won't survive? There's a lot that won't survive when you become a parent. So if you're like talking in the context of that, there's a lot that doesn't survive, because you have different perceptions of the world without children than when you have children. Even when you're like a new parent versus somebody that's like, been at it for a while, it's always funny to watch new parents and how they think certain things are going to happen or should happen. And you're like, that's good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then their things change about them. But those things I really like ChatGPT for generating questions that you have to answer yourself. So instead of it being something that's replacing your creativity, it's actually boosting your creativity by giving you brainstorming, like almost like launch pads. And I think that that's so important, because especially if you are alone and you don't have lots of different people that are helping you brainstorm, it's kind of like it's a substitute for like a group of people that would otherwise give you other ideas, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I think it's fantastic. So whether it's dealing with a UTI or like solving life's, desperate questions, providing useful introspection, pondering over, meaning and life. It's just amazing. I love AI so much.
I do think it's very cool. My mom is not a technology person, but she uses ChatGPT so much because she is the type of person that is very detail oriented about stuff.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't understand something, it bugs her. And so she loves that ChatGPT is like it's like her personal, like, information partner or something. So when she hears something, about anything, news sources, whatever. She's just like, I was listening to this article and I didn't really understand the connection between this and this. And then it will explain it. My mom just like was trying to figure out what to invest some of their like retirement savings in. And she like asked ChatGPT like 100 questions. So it was like doing this. And then she was like, okay, well, what's the difference between this and this? And then it like spit out this portfolio. And then I like went and checked all the like fun facts and like the management expense ratios and all the things. I'm like, it's legit. I'm like, this is pretty good, Mom. And so she was just like, she was really excited about that. But yeah, it's interesting that I never thought my mom would be that kind of a person because she hates technology. But for her, it's not really a piece of technology. It's just a simple app that she can use rather than going on Google and sifting through all this information that seems overwhelming. It's like a really curated source of reliable information for my mom. So I think it's cool.
I really wanted my parents to use it, but for some reason they messaged, because I said, when it first came out, I was like, have you heard this? You don't even have to like type, because my mum doesn't really like typing. You can just voice note. You can talk to it. It will talk to you back. And they went to download the app, and then for some reason it says, do you consent to, your data being used? And they were like, oh, we don't really want our data being collected. And I was like, I can understand your concerns, but to be honest, I don't think ChatGPT is. I just felt like you get so much more value from it than the data it collects. Maybe I'll be wrong about that in the future. Who knows? But maybe ChatGPT is not my friend. But I find it so valuable, and the fact that it's free. And my parents, they would find it so valuable if they used it. But unfortunately, that data question was a bit of a deal breaker for them. They've got like a little bit of sometimes a bit of paranoia about those sort of things.
I think that is a hard one for a lot of people, but to be honest, I think that our devices, like our phones in general, are like they're sources of like they're spies. I mean, I'll just be talking about something and an ad will come up for it on my phone like the next time I'm on Facebook or something. So I don't think that we're getting away from data collection. We have to be able to go in and turn off permissions to our microphone and stuff like that if we don't want that stuff collected. But I don't believe that ChatGPT is collecting any data that you don't willingly give it. Like it's not, checking your bank accounts or anything.
No.
It does absolutely collect all of the data from everything that you ask it because it's curating like answers that are based on you and all of the information that you've given it. But I don't know. Yeah, Joe's like that too. Like he's just like, I'm careful about what I'm going to say to ChatGPT, but I'm just like, there's so many things that it just makes it easier for, like if you're analyzing a document or something like that, and you just need some questions, or even just like a quick write-up that doesn't have to be like in your own voice or whatever. It's so much simpler to use.
Yeah. I've got quite lazy with it as well. If I need to write an email, I'll just say, so I had this email from a company, like my catheter company, for example. They've delivered catheters, but I need them to not do the next one and maybe send half the amount. Can you make it polite and put it in French and in English so I can understand it? And then I'll just copy and paste it, and it's done. It's so handy to do that because you just talk and it just spits out a perfect email in French and in English, which is lazy because obviously I'm supposed to be learning French and learning to write French. But if I can just do a task that would take me half an hour and be really clumsy, or like 5 minutes and absolutely accurate, it's so hard not to use that.
I know. I think that we have to caution against that kind of stuff, that because eventually your brain loses it's like spelling for me. I can't friggin' spell anymore because there's predictive text and everything spells for you. And so I am terrible at spelling, and I have to really pay attention when I'm thinking about how to spell something. So I think, we have to definitely not use it for everything. But there were just a couple of questions in here that I wanted to get to before we end, because we're getting close to that time. So Brittany, did you ever have a situation that you really had to pee, but there was no place that you could go, so you had to pee yourself because there was no toilet near? So I've talked about this at length on my actual channel, that I always find a way to pee without a toilet. So I have a zipper in the crotch of my pants. And if you go to my YouTube channel or just go Empowered Para pee videos in Google, you'll get at least 6 videos of showing how I pee.
At least.
So I have lots of pee videos. But there has been situations where I couldn't even go pee the way I normally pee in my wheelchair just because of the situation, and I was doing something or I was around a lot of people and it just wasn't possible. And so I have peed my pants that way before. It wasn't intentional because I can't actually like void on my own. So yeah, if you want to go watch those videos, it'll show if you're a woman how to pee in any location essentially, as long as you're not afraid of being in public. I mean, I peed on a boat in front of a bunch of people. They turn their head and I pee into a container and then I dump in the water. So just yeah. Anyway, I just want to answer that.
When it comes to comments, this guy Don Booze answered your question about the
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So he said, panicked and rushed to the doctor. I had recurring UTIs and it got to the point where I was having UTI symptoms with fever feeling absolutely terrible every time I was off antibiotics until I just had this overwhelming impending sense that something was wrong. I called an ambulance at 4 o'clock p.m. and by the time I was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, I just thought I was really tired, I couldn't stay awake, and woke up long enough to hear the doctor tell me, Mr. Booze, you're really sick, and then I woke up 3 days later in the ICU with muscle weakness afterwards. But the worst part were the hallucinations that lasted about a week afterwards. I've read a possibility of PTSD afterwards, and I'm not sure if I have it, but whenever I get symptoms now, I feel very panicked and rush to the doctor.
Wow.
It ended up being caused by a bladder stone that was extremely colonized with bacteria that the antibiotics could never fully take care of. Sorry for the mistakes. I'm a C5 quad using speech to text on my phone. So that was the answer to the question with was it sepsis?
Sepsis.
Yeah, that's awful. That sounds crazy. So I'm interested, Don, if you're still watching. Did they have to like cut that bladder stone out? Like how did they get that out if antibiotics weren't working? But that sounds absolutely. I'm probably sure you had to go under the knife or something. But that sounds incredibly awful.
Thank you for that detailed explanation, because I'm always curious about sepsis, and I've had some people that just had a really high fever, but all of them felt absolutely horrible. My cousin actually had sepsis from an ulcer in her stomach, and her stomach started leaking out into her abdomen, and then it created like a pocket of fluid that was trying to contain all of the food and bacteria that were getting into her abdomen. But she felt horrible forever, and then finally she went to the hospital because it was sepsis, and she was like getting blood poisoning from this bacteria being in her abdomen. And it causes like even just regular UTIs for some people are like a source of real panic and anxiety every time they get symptoms. I know for me, if I start to get a UTI symptom, I'm like, oh, and I don't get like super panicked, but it creates like anxiety. And if you had a situation as bad as that, I can imagine that it was really scary. I had a kidney infection once that like presented almost like sepsis, and they thought I had it, but they tested it and it wasn't actually sepsis. It was just a kidney infection. So for probably like 5 years after I had that kidney infection, every time I got the same symptoms, I would start to sweat. I would be scared. I would go to the hospital. Yeah, it's really scary because sepsis is serious. Like it's life threatening. So I can imagine being scared of it.
Yep, that sounds awful. I don't really know that much about it, but thank you, Don, for sharing.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
There's another comment which I really like. Main man Tony. Fred lights up whenever Britt talks about being a parent. I do a little bit because I like something that I'm really wanting to do one day, and it's interesting to know, like, you know, to glean that wisdom. And like I said about being a parent is like one of those unteachable lessons. Everyone says what it's like, but you never fully understand what it's like until you do it, you know. And I'm like, but I'm trying to, you know, anytime I could like learn from others' mistakes, even though you're probably going to make mistakes, or just all sorts of parents. It's not just when you talk about being a parent. I'm in that broody stage where I'm like, oh, you've got a kid? Tell me more.
Yeah.
How old is he? You know. So yeah.
It's a fun stage to be in, and it's like honestly being a parent in the especially first for few years is so fun because you see how much they learn. I was at my friend's birthday party a few weeks ago, and there was a little baby there that was maybe like 10 or 12 months old, and she was just learning how to walk, but she has parents who speak French, English, and Italian because her dad is French, her mom's Italian, and they speak English together. And it fascinates me that a kid at that age can speak all those languages to the people around her and know when to speak Italian in like her just little broken, 1-year-old words. Like, I'm like, that's crazy to me. So seeing how intelligent kids are and the language acquisition and just like watching their little, like the wheels turn in their head when they're even starting to grab toys, and then like toys that go together, like a square goes into a square, and they learn this stuff, and you're just like, wow, it's so cool. So I think the first like 4 years of life is fascinating, and it's so fun to watch. It's so fun to watch kids become little people. Much more stressful when they become teenagers, and then you don't know where your parental boundaries or, I don't know where I'm supposed to parent and not parent, and it's terrible.
Yeah. No, we had that conversation, I think last week in a lot of detail. But yeah, it fascinates me. I think, yeah, and the fact that our kid is probably going to be trilingual as well, because Chris and I speak English together. We live in France, and she's Spanish, so she definitely wants to speak Spanish to the child, and that means I'm gonna have to try and learn some Spanish as well. Otherwise, they're gonna have their own little secret language. But the child, at one point, fingers crossed, if he ever comes out, is going to be fluent in all three. It's going to be way better at French than me, way better at Spanish than me, probably better at English and French than Chris as well. And it's just going to, it's fascinating. And like you say, how can a 1-year-old know what language to speak to 3 different people? Because that's just, brains are a sponge, and at that age, that's just what she's learned. So that is, for all she knows, is like there's just these 3 different languages that you just speak with different people.
Yeah.
And the potential for the little human brain is just so, I think it's absolutely fascinating. I love it.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. Like it's unfathomable, really, what kids are able to learn. If we had that brain potential past like 4 years old, I can't even imagine what we would be able to accomplish. There's a couple more things here on sepsis. When I had sepsis, my cognitive ability was affected. My speech wasn't clear. My only sign was a fever. I used to have symptoms of needing to go and not being able to. It changed with age. So my aunt actually had sepsis, and that was her thing. Like she thought she was having a stroke because she had a fever, and she thought maybe something was going on with that, but it ended up just being sepsis. Not just being sepsis. It was sepsis, and it was bad. Another thing about bladder here, I may be lazy, but I think having a suprapubic catheter is the way to go. No more big pee accidents, plus way fewer runs for supplies. You know what? I honestly think that a suprapubic catheter is really effective in a lot of ways for many people. And if I retire and I can't afford all the catheters that I have to buy, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put it on a flip flow valve so that my bladder can still fill and I can pee wherever I want. But it's like $30 a month instead of like $1,000 a month and what I pay for catheters now. So I think that that's right. And even like I was not mentoring, but I went to teach at the rehab hospital because they teach a couple of classes there. And one of the guys there was cathing and having serious issues with damage to his urethra. And they told him that he had to keep doing intermittent catheterization because he had hand function. And I was like, that is ridiculous. I'm like, they didn't tell you about a suprapubic catheter? And he was like, not really. So I was like telling him all about it. And he was like, why are they making me like pee through my urethra when he's having like blood and infections and all these things. And I'm just like, sometimes it's crazy that we hold on to the one type of catheterization as the best way when there's lots of different types of things that you can do.
I remember I had urethral trauma once, and I made a really funny YouTube video about it. I watched it recently. I was like, mate, that's gold. My old YouTube videos were actually really quite funny. I was in the hospital, and just in the hospital, just taking videos. I was just so bold back in the day. Anyway, it was very funny. Basically, I damaged my urethra so much that I couldn't get my catheter in. I went to the emergency room. I hadn't peed for like 24 hours or something. 24 hours, and I couldn't get the catheter in. And when I got there, I remember thinking, "Oh man, there's so many people here. I'm gonna have to wait ages." And when I told them I hadn't peed for 24 hours, they were like, "Get in there straight away!" And They ended up giving me a, what's the word, indwelling catheter. And I remember thinking, well, if the little catheter's not going to go through, how is the indwelling catheter going to go through? And they put a load of analgesic gel, like numbing gel down there, and they ended up getting it in, and it was just quite a funny, just clumsy experience that I felt like I documented in quite a humorous way. But yeah, I remember, just putting the catheter in until, and it just kept, blood was coming out. I was like bleeding from the dick. I was like, oh my God, like this is like awful, absolutely disgusting and grim, and it's completely undesirable. And then again, not going to the hospital until I'm like, well, I haven't weed in ages and I can't get a catheter in there. And then obviously having the ultrasound, and they were like, whoa, you've got like almost a liter of water in there. You need to get that out. And yeah, it was interesting experience, but certainly wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it's definitely a more of a male issue with the urethral trauma, but it's actually, when I did research on what the side effects there are of catheterization, that was like a huge one for men. And it not only causes urethral trauma, but it can cause like scar tissue, and it'll cause narrowing of the urethra, and it will cause infections and like little pockets of infection, and it causes like just a whole bunch of stuff. And my friend Brian, he had multiple surgeries because of urethral trauma that caused infection that then tunneled to like one of his testicles, and then it was a major deal, and he had to have multiple surgeries to repair not only the like urethra but all of the pockets of infection that like tunneled through his whole bladder area. It was crazy. Speaking of Brian, I wanted to ask this. It's right at the end. I should have asked at the beginning. So Brian is nearing sort of the end of his journey. He was on here talking about his journey with MAIDS, which is medical assistance in dying here in Canada. So would anybody be interested in him coming back on? Next week is the only time that he can do it. So if we...
Ominous.
Yes, it's the only time that he can do it. So are you guys... he said he's happy to do it and really pumped to share his story with his journey and all the emotions and everything. So
I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Genuinely, I'm getting emotional just thinking about him coming on.
I'll try not to get emotional, but I don't want to share anything specifically about like his journey. That's his journey to share.
Yeah. No, I'm massively keen.
Next week is his thing. So if you guys are interested, and if you're interested, then we'll set it up for next week.
100%. Let's do that. 100%.
Okay. Yeah, let's
Amazing.
definitely do it. Try not to get emotional. It's gonna
I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, Brittany. That sounds amazing. Just before we go, Don Booze got back to us. Under anesthesia, they put a scope in my bladder through my urethra. They broke it up with a laser and removed it. A laser. I'm thinking about, like in... I'm getting distracted. I was thinking about, Austin Powers. He's like, sharks with freaking lasers. My urologist will only do that procedure under anesthesia because of the possibility of autonomic dysreflexia. I can imagine having lasers stuck up your urethra. And I've been having ADD symptoms when I get UTI lately, so that's fun. That's interesting. I'd love to know more. We're coming towards the end of the podcast, but
this is like interesting I love other people's perspectives and experiences, because like obviously we can only share our own, and it's so much more valuable when we hear from other people about what their experience is in terms of the things that we have.
Jay had the same laser. Well, that is interesting. Isn't modern medicine marvelous? I've been watching Outlander recently. I don't know if you've seen it.
I read the books.
Oh, Chris loves it. And it's about this woman. She goes back in time and she knows things from the future. And then there's all these weird medical procedures and witchcraft and all these sort of superstitions. And it's just wild. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's very, very fun. But anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked on a tangent. But yeah, we've been watching that. And it just makes me think, reminds me of how amazing is it that we have antibiotics? Because so many people die of infections all the time back then, and life was pretty fragile.
I know. It's amazing. It makes you think about all that stuff that people were able to do way back when. And you're just like, is time travel a real thing? Because there's so much cool stuff that people used to do. There is something on here. Main man Tony, I just want to say, ChatGPT talked me into writing a book and then helped me get organized to write it. Put it in the comments if you have a book that you want to share with us. That would be very cool.
ChatGPT is my friend.
Yeah. I'm not really sure that it's actually your friend, but it feels like a friend. Whoever wrote the whatever the software, I don't even know. I don't understand any of that stuff. I don't understand how people make that stuff. So I don't, it's
magic. It's magic. Anyway, we should leave it there. It's gone an hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for AD, as in autonomic dysreflexia. I thought he meant ADD, like he's been having
deficit disorder.
I thought he's been having attention deficit disorder as a reflex. That's hilarious. And main man Tony says book title is Dust and Promise, and it's on Amazon. Amazing.
Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna go look that up right now.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, me too. All right then, everybody. Thanks. Peace and love. See you next Tuesday, where we'll have Brian on. I'm so excited about that. The comments are very, very positive about getting Brian back on. So yeah, that'll be amazing. I'm looking forward to that. I'll have to. And does just real quick? I know that we should probably do this after we finished, but does your clock go back?
It does. It goes. Hang on. Just let me. No, not next. Is it Halloween this weekend? I do think it's this weekend. It is this weekend. This weekend. Yeah. Let me check. Okay, cool. I'll check after.
No worries. No, yeah, we'll see. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for interacting. Thanks for the comments. And ciao.
Ciao. Bye, guys.
Bye.